What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of The Real Housewives of Dubai, Season 1, Episode 10. Brooks and Sarah, they're doing good. Just the two of them went out four-wheeling together out in the desert, which looked like so much fun. Out there in the desert, you don't have to worry about trees, you don't have to worry about mud, just out there in the open space. It just looked like they're having a ball. So they're in a good place. They have a conversation about surviving divorce, and Sarah, she just can't help herself. She has to give advice. And so she was giving Brooke some advice on how to deal with life after divorce and the pain of divorce. And so they're in a really good place. Moving on from there, Caroline Stanberry has planned a trip for all the girls to a place called Nurai, which is 50 miles away from Dubai. And this is like, I don't know if I'm trying to figure out exactly where Nurai would be in the United Arab Emirates, but evidently it's not by the coast because it's by the water, it's by the beach. It is absolutely beautiful. On this show, we're so used to all of the brown of the desert. So it was refreshing to see green and to see the blue water. It was really refreshing to see some color finally on this particular franchise. So they're staying at a villa, which is $50,000 a night. And Caroline Stanberry tells us that the King of Spain has moved there. This is where really important dignitaries go to when they go on vacation. So this place is nothing to sneeze at. So the first night there, they're all getting along. They're having dinner. The Lebanese dancers come out to perform for them. They play a couple of games, Never Have I Ever, Two Lies, One Truth, and some balloon popping games. So the first night goes extremely well. And Caroline Brooks was extremely lit. The next day, they're having breakfast, and Lisa tells an amazing story about her cousin and her cousin's death. So they were having a conversation on whether or not they believe if once you pass away, if the spirit is, does the spirit still go on, or do the spirit of those who passed on, do their spirits still, do they come visit you, or something like that? Something about life after death and whether or not, your spirit is still there, or something like that. So Lisa says that she totally believes that the spirit of our dead loved ones they do live on. Their spirits are still there. And she goes on to say that if the person had a troubled death, or if their soul was not at rest, the spirit will continue to live on until they can find peace. So she says that she had a cousin who was like a brother to her because they grew up together. So they were like more like brother and sister. And her cousin ended up getting murdered. And for a long time, his murder was unsolved. So then she says her cousin would come to her in her dreams, and he was helping her solve his murder. He would give her certain clues in her dreams, and this would go on for a long time. And so the clues that he would send to her through her dreams, she would report to the police. And so he would describe to her like what the killer looked like, where the killer was living, and all the information that she was getting from her dreams, she was passing on to the police. And based on that information that she gave, they ended up solving the murder and catching the guy who killed her cousin. And I was listening to this, I was completely captivated. I was like, that is amazing. Do I believe it? 100%. Yes, I do believe it. That's exactly what happened. I was just amazed by it. It was a beautiful story. And I think that once the murder was solved, her cousin stopped coming to her through her dreams because I think his spirit was finally at rest. Moving on. What else is? Let's go to the dinner. So they're at the dinner now. This is their second night in Nurai. And I was very, very confused about this dinner conversation. So forgive me if I have the facts wrong. So from what I understand, first of all, let's talk about Chanel. Chanel likes to always pump herself up, right? She always talks about, she comes across as someone who has a ton of confidence because she talks about how she thinks of herself. She thinks she's the most beautiful. She thinks that she's the most successful. She thinks that she's got it going on more than anybody else in the world. She just really pumps herself up. And I feel like she does this because she has no confidence in herself, because she does lack a lot of self esteem, because what's understood doesn't have to be explained. So if you have it like that, you never have to tell us, honey. We'll be able to see it. It's going to shine through if you got it going on like that. You will never have to explain it. You don't have to explain to me how expensive or how good quality a Maybach is or a certain type of Bentley is, because I can see it. You don't have to really explain it to me because I can look at it and I can see it. So her always pumping herself up, talking about herself, complimenting herself every other second. It's just like she's trying to convince everybody else that that's who she is. But deep down inside, she knows that she's not that girl. So let's move on. And also, she likes to pump herself up, but when it comes to Lisa, she's always Lisa's wingman. You know, she's always the one pumping up Lisa. She's not necessarily she kind of like, her light is a little bit dimmed when it comes to Lisa for some reason. She becomes Lisa's cheerleader instead of the other way around. That's interesting. Anyway, Brooks is at the table. She appears drunk, not tipsy, not feeling a little warm inside. Brooks appears drunk. And she also appeared drunk in the previous night's dinner when the Lebanese dancers came out and they did all the games and stuff, because she was slurring her words. She was really drunk that night. So and then it's like she just got there at the table, and to me, it looked like she was already drunk and she just sat down. I'm like, girl, what is going on? So she looked like she was completely drunk. Stanberry looked like she was a little bit tipsy, on the verge of being drunk. So this is going to be a very interesting dinner. So they talk about Brooks and her ex-husband and her ex-boyfriend giving her money to invest in her business. We know that the ex-boyfriend is investing in the business. I'm not sure if the ex-husband is also investing, or if he's just giving her the money outright, or if it's a loan or what. So Stanberry says that there's nothing wrong with her taking money from her exes to help build her business. Sarah says that she should not be dependent on any man, because then you're giving that man control. So the man that hurt you, that broke your heart, that turned your whole world upside down, now you're giving him power to have a say-so in your life, because you're using his money for whatever you need his money for. Chanel comes in and says, I depend on my man for everything, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so Stanberry was trying to explain to, I think, this is where I could be wrong, I think Stanberry was trying to explain to Chanel, okay, what you're talking about is different from what we're talking about with Brooks. I think that's what she was trying to say. I don't want to put words in her mouth and I don't want to assume, but I felt like she was trying to say, well, it's one thing to depend on your husband. It's something else when you go to your ex. I think that's what she was trying to say. I have no idea, because guess what? Chanel never stopped talking. I didn't think it was humanly possible to talk that much, to have so many words come out of your mouth at that rate, where it looked like she didn't even take a breath. She talked nonstop for what seemed like 10 minutes straight. And it was like, how is she coming up with all of these ideas to verbalize? How are they coming up in her mind so fast like that? Because the woman did not take a breath. And poor Stanberry was trying to get a word in edgewise. It wasn't happening. It wasn't going to work, because Chanel just kept on talking and talking and talking. It was as if she didn't want to hear what Stanberry had to say. So Sarah said that in her confessional, Sarah says that something must have triggered Chanel for her to just kind of go off like this on Stanberry and not allowing Stanberry to talk. And I don't know for the life of me what could have triggered Chanel, because Sarah said in her confessional, it seemed like Chanel was taking out her frustrations on Stanberry when Stanberry had done absolutely nothing to her, has said nothing to her that was in the least bit offensive. And who knows what it was that Stanberry was going to say, because Chanel never let the woman talk. So Chanel tries to prove to Stanberry that she's really good at business, that she's really successful, that she's got it going on like that, like she's just that girl. And Stanberry was like, okay, I'm not doubting that. I understand that you're successful in business and so on and so forth. And then Chanel comes back and says, let's be realistic. I'm actually more successful than you. And it's like, Chanel, what is happening? Why are you so triggered by this dinner? What was said at this table that got you going like this? So I don't know what was going on with Chanel. I wonder if Chanel feels like amongst these women, she has to prove something to her. She has to prove something to them. I don't know because I feel like they're all sort of on the same level. I don't know what the hell Stanberry does for a living. I don't know. They seem to all do very well in their own right, including Chanel. So I don't know why Chanel felt this way. But Chanel constantly pumping herself up to me is just like she's trying to convince other people to see her the way that she thinks that she's presenting. Or she's trying to convince herself that she's like that when she really isn't. Because that little girl that went through all that trauma when she was a child, that little girl is still existing. That little girl is still in her. And then the next episode, she's going to be going through some kind of therapy. And we see that. Whatever she went through as a child was definitely suppressed. And I don't think she was able, maybe she, I don't know if she went to therapy or not. I'm not sure what's going on with Chanel, but this constant bragging, being very grandiose, being very like constantly reminding people, I got it going on. I'm beautiful. I'm successful. I'm this and I'm that. I'm the best. I'm the best. I'm the best. I don't know. I don't know if this is just an act for the cameras because this is the character that she created for the show, or if this is how she really is. I have no idea. But this dinner was really bizarre, and I hope that we get to the bottom of it. I'm pretty sure it's going to end up with Chanel apologizing to Stanberry, apologizing to everybody else at the table, because that's how it always goes. Anyways, thank you so much. Oh, and another thing, Sergio. So this is a May December situation where I see the chemistry between them because in my Real Housewives of Beverly Hills review, I talk about how I just don't see any chemistry between Diana Jenkins and Asher. I just don't see it at all. And it's not just because she's older than him. I just don't see it. She really does look like, like she's his mother or she's some type of authority figure over him. Whereas with Sergio and Stanberry, I kind of see the chemistry, especially in the confessionals. I really see the chemistry between them when they're doing the confessional together and she's sitting on his lap. I definitely see it then because Stanberry is so much more relaxed in those confessionals with him. He looks more like a man. Sergio, by the way, looks really, 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 really good in that confessional when Stanberry is sitting on his lap because he's got that really nice suit. His hair is cut. He looks really nice in that confessional. But anyway, so Sergio is suffering through some type of separation anxiety from Stanberry because he didn't want her to go, or he wanted to go with her on this trip, and he didn't understand at all why he couldn't come along. And even though Stanberry acts annoyed with Sergio, I think she likes it. I think she likes it because it seems like her previous relationship, her previous marriage, she blames it on him being English, that maybe he was really distant from her. There wasn't a lot of affection between them. So Sergio being so overly affectionate and overly needy, she acts like it bothers her, but I think she really does like it deep down inside. That is my review of the Real Housewives of Dubai. Thank you so much for joining me. If you like this content, subscribe. If you don't like it, don't worry about it. Thank you for stopping by anyway. And if on your way out, please don't forget to rate the video, and I'll talk to you later.